answered as we go along. So today we're just going to kind of go over who QMotion is and then some basic info about us, some stuff that if you're getting started with us, it's good for you to know. So if you don't know a lot about QMotion, we were founded in 2010 by Willis Mullet. He was the previous owner of Wayne Dalton Garage Doors, so he brought a lot of innovative thinking over to the shading industry, and he came up with a patent for a lot of the stuff that we have. We were acquired in December of 2015 by Legrand. Legrand owns some other companies such as Wattstopper and Vantage. So what we do is we focus on innovation and then trying to bring a really unique product to the window treatment industry. Some of the stuff that we're going to go over today: what makes QMotion different, an overview of our products, some fabric basics, control options, how to order, and then how to measure. Okay, all right, so the QMotion difference. The QMotion difference, what makes QMotion different? So some of the things for it is going to be simple installation, no wires, very easy to program. We do have industry-leading half-inch light gaps, so our closest competition is 3/4 inch. Lutron would be what our closest competition is, but we do have the smallest light gaps in the industry, even half-inch on each side. The manual override feature, so this is the biggest thing that sets us apart. Basically what this means is you're able to give the shade a tug. If you give it less than an inch, it will go to the next intermediate position, or if you give it between 1 to 2 inches, it'll go all the way to the top. You can also pull it more than 2 inches to pull it down to wherever you need it to be. So that's just a good thing with us because you can't do that with anyone else's products. You are able to just pull these down and it does not strip your motor, it doesn't delete your limits. We also have the patented counterbalance system. So that is where we have the springs that work with the motor. So what's happening is that the springs are doing a lot of the work, which means that the motor is not having to work as hard, in turn giving you a longer battery life. So we have up to a 3 to 5 year battery life with our shades because of this counterbalance system. So with our Q Advanced battery-powered roller shades, they have very easy battery change. Basically, all that you have to do is pull the shades down all of the way, and then the battery cover will be right there on the front. You're just going to pop off the battery cover, and then you can change your batteries out. No cords or wires. It does have a very quiet operation to it. The batteries are all, and the batteries, the motor, and the antenna are all concealed within the shade tube. So that is another patent that we have with that. Nobody else has that. The minimum width for a D-cell battery-powered shades would be 22.5 inches for bracket to bracket, and the minimum height is 12 inches, whereas the maximum width in height is 144 by 144, so 12 foot by 12 foot. These do just use the standard alkaline D-cell batteries. You'll use anywhere from 3 to 8 of them. You do not want to use lithium batteries with the D-cell battery powered shades. Those do pull too much power. In turn, they will hurt the motor. So we actually offer an even smaller battery powered shade. The smallest width you can go with the battery powered shade is now 15.5 inches bracket to bracket. So from 15.5 inches up to 22 inches, you're going to use the AA battery shade. So what's going to happen is it's going to be a battery pack that's kind of in the shape of a D-cell battery, and it will have 3 AA batteries in it. We do ship it with alkaline batteries. Now with these ones, you are able to use lithium batteries because there's only 3 of them and they're so small. It's actually going to give you a longer battery life with these. You get about a 1 to a 1.5 year battery life with the alkaline batteries and about up to 2 years with the lithium batteries. So with the AA battery shades, you can use lithium, whereas with the D-cell battery powered shades, you only want to use alkaline. So from 15.5 inches to 22 inches, the maximum height that you can do on a shade is 96 inches. The reason for this is because since the tube is so narrow, you don't want there to be too much fabric, otherwise it's going to do what we call telescoping, so the fabric will have a tendency to come off one end or the other. If it does that, then it's going to get caught up in the brackets and it's probably going to ruin the fabric. So anywhere from 15.5 to 22 inches, your maximum height will be 96 inches. Once you hit that 22 inches, if you need to go farther, then you're just going to jump on up to the D-cell battery powered shade. Low voltage are the next shades that we talk about. These are the shades that will use a gauge wire. It's going to have a 24 volt DC input to it, and it's going to have a 24-inch wire lead that comes out of the motor. It's really important to know that low voltage is completely different than hardwired. The low voltage is only offered for our Gen 2 AM shades and our Gen 3 FM shades, the one-way product that we have. And then the hardwired shades, which is for the Zigbee, we'll use a Cat 5e or a Cat 6, and we'll go over those in a little bit. But just very important to know that low voltage and hardwired are two completely different things. So you can get about a 500-foot wiring range with an 18-gauge wire. If you use like a 12-gauge wire, you can get up to 1,500 feet. You do have to provide the gauge wire. We have the 24-inch wire lead that will come out of the shade with a little quick connect on it, which is a little green piece that you're able to plug the wires into. And we offer a single shade power supply, a 4-shade distribution box, or a 16-shade power panel. The minimum width for these would be the 15.5 inches as well, whereas the minimum height is 12 inches. And then your maximum width and height is 144 by 144, just depending on the type of fabric that you will be using. Next is our cassette system. So this is the battery-powered shade within a cassette. The cassette is different than fascia. Cassette has the rounded cover, whereas fascia, the snap-on fascia, is the metal piece that you snap onto the fascia brackets. So the cassette system is an all-in-one system. Basically, it's already put together when you receive it. The mounting brackets are kind of an L shape, so basically you can do either a top or a back mount. You're just going to simply mount these about 6 inches in on each side, take the cassette system, and then it just snaps up into the brackets. It is not meant to be taken apart in the field. The shade already comes assembled within the cassette system, so that's how it's supposed to stay. The front cover can only be painted. It cannot be fabric wrapped. You can paint it in one of our 5 standard colors: black, bronze, white, sand, or anodized silver. Your bottom bar can be fabric wrapped or painted. That's up to you. It's just the front cover that can only be painted. The maximum width for the cassette system is 96 inches, and then your maximum height is just going to vary based off of your roll-up diameter. So the roll-up diameter for the cassette system cannot go over 2.9 inches. Basically, whenever the fabric's rolled all the way up, this diameter has to be 2.9 inches or below. Otherwise, it's not going to fit within the cassette cover. Also, you can only have a standard roll, which is where the fabric rolls off the back of the tube, for the cassette system, because obviously the bottom bar would have no room to go down for a reverse roll. Next is our QBasic shade. This is our manual shade. So this is where you're going to have the chain operated. It has no springs and no motor in it. The QBasic is its own product, so it does not use the same fascia or the same brackets as our other products do. So the QBasic is just kind of a system all in itself. The fascia does look a lot like the snap-on fascia, but it is a little bit different. You can either have a stainless steel or a nickel-plated chain. We have 2 different types of QBasic. We have what we call a QB17 as well as a QB28. The QB17 is what you will be using if you are not using fascia. Basically, if you just have an open roll, it has more rectangular brackets, whereas the QB28 is the one that has more square brackets, and that's what you would use for fascia. The fascia for the QB28 bracket or QB28 shade does come in those 5 standard colors as well. And that is the one that you have to use if you are going to be getting fascia. The clutches for both the QB17 and the QB28 do only come in black or white, but the fascia does come in those 5 standard colors. The minimum width on a QBasic shade is 7 inches, so you can go pretty small with these ones. And then your maximum width is 120 inches. Your maximum height is 144 inches, so you can go up to 10 foot by 12 foot with these, but your width cannot go over the 10 foot, 120 inches. The child safety chain that does come with this comes in either black or white as well. All shades will be shipped with the child safety device, and you have to make sure that that stays on there. If this is ever removed, it will void the entire warranty of the product. QFree is our next manual shade. This operates, it has an integrated braking system as well as springs in it. It does not have a motor. It looks exactly like the Q Advanced motorized shades. It uses the same brackets and the same fascia, except for it is a manual option. Basically, it works just by tugging on it. So you pull it down to where you want it to be, and then you give it a small tug to kind of release it, and then it'll go all the way up. The minimum width for this is 14 inches, and then it can go up to 96 by 96. So the maximum width and height for this is 96 inches by 96 inches. Just to go over some basics for our roller shade fabrics, we do offer over 300 different colors of fabric. We have 3 different fabric groups. So we have screen fabrics, decorative fabrics, and blackout fabrics that we offer. Screen fabrics are fabrics that I kind of like to say serve a purpose. So basically these are really good for helping to control natural light, helping to reduce glare, maintaining a view. If I have a customer who lives somewhere where they have a really great view and they still want to be able to keep that view, but they want to control the amount of light and the heat that's coming in, then the screen fabrics are really good for this. They do help to reduce heat gain. They provide privacy as well as UV protection. UV protection is big for people who are worried about any type of fading of their furniture, artwork, floors, anything like that. We do have a lot of information on screen fabrics, the technical screen fabrics. So basically we know what their openness factor is. I know their fenestration information, which is how much energy they reflect or absorb or transmit. They are transparent by nature, so they are able to be, you can see through them basically. So it's very important to let customers know that even if you're getting a 1% fabric, which is, you know, the least amount that you can see through, people still are able to see through it. So they're not going to provide you with complete privacy. Decorative fabrics, these have more design and print options to them. They are fabrics that are designed to pretty much look good. We don't have all the information on them like we do with the screen fabric. I don't know how much energy they reflect or absorb or transmit. They don't have the fenestration information. There is no set openness factor. It's kind of just what you see is what you get with it. And then we have our blackout or our room darkening fabrics, as we like to refer to them as. We like to say room darkening because they do block out 100% of the light in the UV rays for whatever area they cover. However, you do still have those half-inch side gaps, or sometimes light will seep through the side of the windows, so that's why we don't really call them blackout fabrics. You do have the option to put the side channels on them to kind of make them blackout, but we just like to refer to them as room darkening instead. 3 different programs I want to tell you guys about. The SOM program is special order material. So if you have a customer who has, let's say, a Shearby 5000 fabric that they want to use, most of our fabric does come from Hermé or Pfeiffer, and we do have the ability to order that from them. So we would consider this a special order material. Basically what we'll do is we will charge your shades out at a price group C. If you have 4 or more shades, it's charged at a price group C. And then we can order the fabric from Pfeiffer or Hermé to be able to make the shades. The COM program is custom order material. This is a fabric that we would not have the ability to order. We don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's a competitor's fabric, or maybe it's coming from a specific person that you as the dealer know. What we do is we require a 3-foot by 3-foot sample of the fabric to come to us first so that we're able to test it. Once we test it, we can say, yes, we can cut it, we know the weight and thickness, yes, we know it'll work with our shades, or no, it won't. So we do keep a list of all of the ones that we test, so if you are going to be using a COM fabric, it's important to check to see if it's one that we've already tested. And then what we'll do is we will just charge the shades at a price group A, which is pretty much only components, and then we'll calculate however much fabric you need to send to us, and we'll let you know. It really helps if you label it with your company name as well as the order number that it's going to when you have it sent to us. The memo sample program is where you, if you, let's say that you're with a customer and then they see a fabric in the fabric book, but they don't think it's a big enough sample to kind of, you know, really make a decision on. What you can do is you can contact your customer service rep and let them know, hey, I need a bigger sample sent to me. We have 8-inch by 10-inch swatches of all of the fabric that we carry. So just let your customer service rep know and then they can send those out to you. Our product guide is a very good resource for you to keep on hand. It's always the most up-to-date version that is on our website. So you can go to QMotionShades.com and then click on the support tab. Under brochures, you'll see the product guide. This has all the different features of our products. It gives you the fabric charts on finding the roll-up diameter. It tells you dimensions of brackets, how to measure, how to program, how to order, all of that good stuff. So just something that's a really good resource to keep on hand. Our Honeycomb product, so this is our cellular shade, has a lot of the same features as the roller shades. Still has about the 3 to 5 year battery life to it. The batteries are located within the head rail, so all that the customer has to do is pop off the head rail and then the batteries will be right there for them to change out. It does have the low profile 1/4 inch light gaps, so even smaller light gaps than our roller shades do. The same manual override feature, and it also uses the same remotes as the roller shades. So if you chose to have the honeycombs and roller shades in the house, you could still use the same remotes for them. We do offer 200 different fabric and 9 different hem bar head rail color options. And then the minimum width for the honeycomb is 20 inches and the minimum height is 12 inches, whereas the maximum width and height is 120 by 96. Qlink is our coupled shade solution. So what this is you are going to have one motorized shade or one motorized panel, and then you have inner panels, and the last panel has the springs in it. So what happens is you're only paying motorized pricing for the first panel, and then the rest of them are priced at QBasic pricing, which is a really big price difference. So it's kind of one system just split into separate panels, and it does move as one system together. You do not have the ability to operate them as separate panels. So again, you pay the motorized pricing for the first panel, and then your inner and your sprung shade are going to be QBasic pricing, and then your couplers are $25 a piece. You have the option to do these as either battery powered low voltage, or you can do them as hardwired. If you're doing battery powered, the minimum battery shade width will be 33 inches. We have to be able to fit our 8 battery motor in there, so we have to have 33 inches in order to do that. So minimum battery shade width is 33 inches. Minimum low voltage and hardwired shade width is only 15.5, just like the normal low voltage shades. And then your inner and sprung shades minimum width is 17 inches. Your maximum band width and height is going to be 120 by 120. So the height of the system cannot go over 120 inches, and the width of the system cannot go over the width of the panel cannot go over 120 inches. Your maximum system width is 288 inches, which is 24 feet. So you can have up to 7 panels with a Qlink system. Obviously, you can't have 7 panels at 120 inches apiece, but if they are all small enough, then you do have the option to do, you know, up to 24 feet with 7 panels. So maximum band and width is 120 by 120, and then you can do battery powered, low voltage, or hardwired. And you also have the ability to do fascia on these. So if you have a system that is 144 inches or smaller, then you can do 1 piece of fascia at 144 inches. If you have a system that goes over 144 inches and you want fascia on it, what you're going to do is you're going to have to do an individual piece of fascia on each panel, and then they're going to connect through what we call our fascia coupler bracket. The fascia coupler bracket only supports standard roll, so you cannot do a reverse roll if you have a Qlink system that goes over 144 inches that needs fascia. You can do these in a pocket. It is really not recommended because it's very difficult. If you do in a pocket, we do not recommend more than 2 panels, and your minimum pocket size has to be 5 inches by 4.5 inches. And your couplers come in either white or black. And then the light gap on the coupler is 1 1/8. All right, so next we're going to talk about our new systems, Gen 2 versus Gen 3. So back in January, we did release 3 new systems. We released our Gen 3 shades, our Zigbee battery, and our hardwired shades. So for our Gen 2 shades, those were the shades that we sold that was all that we sold before January. These were our AM shades that operated off of RF433. They were one-way communication. They used the Qconnect to integrate into home automation systems. So if you had to integrate, you had to use the Qconnect. And then the QSync was what we offered if you were going to be doing either the iOS or the Android app. It also used its own single-channel, multi-channel, and timer remote, and it's offered as either battery or low voltage. We are still doing Gen 2 shades, but really you're not going to be ordering Gen 2 unless this is going to a previous job, if you need a timer remote, or if it has to use a home automation system that we do not currently have a driver written for on either our Gen 3, our Zigbee, or our QIS hardwired. So Gen 3 was one of the systems that we did come out with in January. Again, it is one-way communication, and it also operates off of an FM channel. So it is still 433, but it's off of FM. So what happens is it's kind of providing more of a closed path for a signal to get through. Now what we did is we made our Qconnect and our QSync into one product. So our Gen 3 QSync will be what a customer will use whenever they want to do either integration or download the app. The Gen 3 also uses our new QDR remote, which is a little bit smaller of a remote. And it is also offered as either battery powered or low voltage. All right, we also have our new our new Zigbee battery and QIS hardwired shades. So what these are is it's our new Zigbee system, which is really cool. It's going to be the two-way system for you. And the Zigbee battery are going to be the same sizes as the battery powered. So our roller shades and our Honeycomb, our Qlink will all come as either Zigbee battery. And then only the roller shades and the Qlink can be done as the QIS hardwired. Honeycomb can only be Zigbee battery. It cannot be hardwired because we also don't even offer it as low voltage. So like I told you guys before, it's very important to know that the Zigbee the QIS hardwired and low voltage are two completely different things. They cannot be the same thing, okay, just so you guys know. All right, so with our Zigbee battery shades, what's going to happen is you will have the shade that has the Zigbee battery motor in it, and then you'll have to have what we call a network coordinator. So with this system, the remote and the shade no longer talk directly to each other. They basically have to have a channel of communication that they talk through. So that would be what we call the network coordinator. For any customer who has an iOS or an Android device, they will be using the Cube, which is this little black box that you see here, as their network coordinator. So what happens is this Cube plugs into a Wi-Fi router, and then you go and you download the app on either the iOS or the Android device. Once you download the app, then you can add your shades and your remotes to the app, and then you're able to pair them together. So again, they kind of have to have a little powerhouse that they talk to each other through. So if you have a customer who does not have an iOS or an Android device, they will be using this range extender right here, which is the white box, as the network coordinator. This simply just plugs into a power outlet, and then you walk through the steps of pairing the shades and the remote to it and then to each other. Now this is also what it's called, a range extender. So what would happen is you could also order this, and then you can put it on the network with the Cube in order to extend the range of it. And then right here you see the QDR remote. So like I said before, you have your network coordinator right here, and then you have your remote that sends off the signal, and then every so often your shade is waking up talking to the network coordinator saying, hey, do you have something for me? So you get about a 3-year battery life with the Zigbee battery shades because they are waking up every so often, but it's still a really good battery life that you're getting with it. Next is our QIS hardwired system. So again, low voltage is where you're going to use a gauge wire, whereas hardwired is where you're going to use either a Cat5e or a Cat6. So with this, you have your shade with the QIS motor in it. It does have Zigbee capability to it, just so you guys know. So it's offered with these hardwired switches, which would be a single or a double hardwired switch. We do not sell the faceplates, only the switches themselves. And then you have the power and communication panel and the multi-shade power supply. So right here you're going to see basically what happens is on the back of the power panel there are 8 ports available. So each device must go to its own port. Each shade and each remote has to go to its own port. And then you have 8 ports available, and then there's an additional 2 ports here for communication. So you can either do third-party communication or you can daisy chain another power panel to this one. So what would happen is, let's say that I have a wall switch and I needed to control 10 shades. One wall switch would have to take up a port, and then I'd only have 7 additional ports available to power shades. After that, I would have to daisy chain another power panel to this one in order to power the additional 3 shades that I need that wall switch to control. So you do use either a Cat 5e or a Cat 6 wire with an RJ45 connector for these. The maximum length of wire from your power communication panel to shades that are up to 8 foot by 8 foot would be 1,250 feet. For shades past 8 foot by 8 foot up to 12 foot by 12 foot, it would be 750 feet. And then if you are using a hardwired wall switch, from the wall switch to the farthest power panel of a shade that it is controlling, it will be 1,000 feet. If you are daisy chaining power panels together, your maximum system capacity is going to be 200 devices. All right, so with our manual override system, the way that this works with all of our shades is that you will tug the shade. If you give it less than an inch, it will go to the next intermediate position. If you tug it between 1 to 2 inches or twice within 10 seconds, it will go all the way to the top. And then if you tug it greater than 2 inches, it will remain stationary until tugged or sent up with a remote. Oops, we're actually not going to go over Gen 2 controls really because, like I said, we are phasing those out. So unless you are doing a previous order, you're not really going to use the Gen 2 controls. What I do want to show you is this QSync. So this was the device that was used with our Gen 2 shades, which is what you would download the app on. But what's going to happen is now for our Gen 3, we have made this the device that does the home automation as well as downloading the app and using it on an iOS or Android device. So basically what happens is you will plug the QSync into your router, and then it is going to download the app, and then you can do your integration and setting it up on the phone through there. Right here, just so you guys know, whenever you get the new one, it will have orange writing on the top of it that will say QSync, so that's kind of how you know that it will be the Gen 3 QSync. And just so you guys know, we do have what we call a new product training webinar, so that if you're looking for more information on the Zigbee and the hardwired shades, that would be the one that you'd want to attend to kind of get the more in-depth training on them. So the last thing we're going to go over real quick is just how to measure, how to order, and then some production lead times. So a couple of things to know about our shades that are very, very important. You always need to order to the nearest 1/16 of an inch with our shades. We do fabricate them to those custom dimensions. So when you're measuring, you always want to measure at the top, the middle, and the bottom for the width. For inside mount shades, you will always give your bracket to bracket width no matter what you're ordering. You always have to give the bracket to bracket width. We will, for inside mount shades, we will automatically take an 1/8 inch deduction off of the bracket to bracket, and then the fabric will be 1 inch shorter than that. For outside mount shades, we do not take any deduction off of the bracket to bracket width. The fabric will just be 1 inch shorter than the bracket to bracket width you give us for those 1/2 inch side gaps. So for inside mount, you're always going to measure jam to jam. You're going to measure at the top, the middle, and the bottom. And you can generally give the top measurement unless your middle or your bottom are more than 1 inch narrow than the top measurement. Since we have those 1/2 inch side gaps to kind of work with, whenever the shade's going down, as long as it's not more than 1 inch narrow, then it's still going to fit within the window. And you want the shade to be able to fit fully within the top of the window. For if you do have it to where the middle or the bottom is more than 1 inch narrow than the top measurement, then you want to make sure that you give the most narrow measurement. Now for outside mount, you need to measure the width in the 3 places and figure out what it is you want your fabric to cover. Take the widest measurement of what you want your fabric to cover and add at least 1 inch onto it, since we do take the automatic deductions here of 1 inch. But sometimes we recommend adding at least 3 inches. That way you have an additional inch overlap on each side. And then for the height, you can measure in 3 places if you want. We do add an additional 10 to 12 inches onto the fabric height that you give us in order to cover the tube, and you're able to adjust your lower limit, so that one's not as finicky as the other one, as the width is. The 2 ways that we allow people to order, you can do it either through the order form that we have. You can fax it or you can email it, or you can use our online ordering system. If you do use the online ordering system, then you do get a 1% discount off of your entire order. And all of our products are now available online through the online ordering system. So if your account is not already activated, just attend our online ordering webinar and we can activate it for you. And then you can just go on and you can place orders through there. So real quick, I just want to show you our online, our fax form, our order form, in case you are going to be doing that. Just find it here really quickly. I'm just going to do the roller quote form. I just want to show you guys, so at the top you're going to put your name and your number, your dealer name and number, side mark and PO for the job, the email that you want us to correspond with in regards to this quote. Let us know if this is a new job or if it's going on to an additional job. The reason, like I said, is because if it's going to an existing job, we want to make sure, first of all, that everything matches, and as well as to make sure that it's going to be a Gen 2 shade for that reason. You let us know if you want the brackets and the fascia to match either in the same room, the entire project, or no matching required. And then if you're using a third-party control system, it's very important that you let us know that as well. The reason is, if you are using a third-party control system, especially if it's the Zigbee or the hardwired, we have to know so we can, first of all, if it's Control 4, it's going to be a completely different motor. Put the shipping information and then any special shipping requests. Put the quantity of the shade, the protocol, if it's going to be the Zigbee, Gen 2 or Gen 3. Now again, hardwired is also Zigbee, so if you're doing either battery or hardwired QIS, you are going to choose Zigbee, ZB. Shade type, is it a single, a dual, cassette, QFree, or QBasic? And then the power type. Battery you can do for the Zigbee, Gen 2 or Gen 3. Low voltage is only available for Gen 2 or Gen 3, and hardwired is Zigbee. And then you're going to put M if it is a manual shade. Fabric name and fabric number, bracket to bracket width, and then the height, inside or outside mount, standard or reverse roll, painted or fabric wrapped bottom bar. If it's going to be in a pocket, please let us know. And then if you want fascia, you're going to put the fascia finish. If you're doing universal brackets, it's very important that you specify if it's going to be a top or a back mount, because the orientation of the bracket does change. If you're doing a low voltage, a hardwired, or a QBasic shade, you need to let us know if you want the wires or the chain on the left or the right hand side, if you want a side channel or a sill angle or both, and then the location of the shade. And then down here, please make sure that you're filling out the proper column for the accessories. If you're doing the Zigbee either hardwired or battery, you're going to do the first column. Down here, you need to choose, if you're doing the hardwired, if you want the 4-inch, the 6-inch, or the 35-inch, either male or female cable. Gen 2 accessories if you're doing Gen 2, and then Gen 3 accessories. So it's very, very easy to do. And then the dealer portal, like I said, if you have not already, you can always go on and take the online ordering system or the online ordering webinar, and we will walk you through how to use that system. Lead times. So for our roller shades, Gen 2 and Gen 3, it's a 7 to 10 business day from the time the order is confirmed. And then 15 days for our Honeycomb, Qlink, and drapery. This is actually wrong, it's not Gen 3. Zigbee and QIS, we do say have a 16 to 18 business day lead time, but they generally get them out a lot faster than that. And we do ship using FedEx. For installation, if you guys have any questions on that, you can always visit us at QMotionShades.com. go to support and then go to videos, and you'll see some videos on how to do installation there. We also have a QMotion University, which we have every month. It's a 2-day training where we go over all of our products. We do some hands-on stuff. You get a tour of the facility. So you can always look for that on our calendar, and it gives you information about it. Otherwise, if you have any more questions or whatnot, you can visit us at QMotionShades.com, or you can call customer service at 877-849-6070. Are there any questions? If you would like a copy of this training, you can always email us at trainers@QMotionShades.com. Otherwise, thank you guys for attending, and I hope that you have a good day.